Prince Harry has betrayed his family so often already in his book, in his Netflix documentary. And then he reportedly reached out to his father and brother to make good again. Well, it turns out it could have been a very good thing that they said, no, stay away, sunshine, because he just cannot stop throwing them under the bus. It's like it's his business model. Here he is now complaining in a thing that he did for the Invictus Games, which is going to happen in Germany, I believe, that he was given no help when he came back from the army in Afghanistan, traumatised again by memories of his dead mother.
The trauma that I had, the biggest struggle for me was the people, no one around me really could help. I didn't have that support structure, that network, or that expert advice to identify what was actually going on with me.
Now, the odd thing is that only a few years ago, Prince Harry actually said that his brother had supported him, had told him to get help.
It's all about timing.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me personally, you know, my brother, you know, bless him, he was a huge support to me and kept saying, you know, this is not right, this is not normal, you need to talk about stuff, it's okay, and all this. And the timing wasn't right.
Joining me from London is Patrick Christie's gun presenter at GB News. Always great to see you, mate. How's it, what is going on here?
Well, it's just the latest instalment of The Prince Who Cried Wolf, isn't it, Andrew, really? I mean, I think that people would have more sympathy for Prince Harry if he hadn't told such obvious whopping lies in the past. I mean, he's saying that there was no support network for him there when he came back from Afghanistan, although, as you've just seen there, he's previously praised his brother for being supportive. He's also previously praised another member of his staff for being supportive of him as well. I think the biggest insult here, actually, ironically, is to the veterans community, which is a real shame because the Invictus Games is something that Harry does really, really well. And the fact is that we're now talking about his spurious claims as opposed to the impact that war has on veterans. And he couldn't resist this sneaky little dig in the latest Invictus Games Netflix series, could he? Which I think is a real shame because he knows that the royal family can't actually come back to him. But it's not the only lie or mistruth that is available in Harry's stint here in the Invictus Games documentary on Netflix. He also said that the British media ignored the deaths of soldiers in Afghanistan, which is actually very offensive to a lot of people in the British media who did a huge amount of work to try to actually highlight the amount of deaths and the lack of support for veterans when they came back. Also, on top of that, he says that it was the British media who managed to expose the fact that he was in Afghanistan and had to pull him out of there in the first place, even though that wasn't true. It was the US media and a couple of Aussies as well. So it does appear that Prince Harry might be allergic to the truth. And I think, again, a good reason why William and Charles decided to swerve him when he's in the UK.
It's just incredible how recklessly he keeps doing it. He seems to want some sort of rapprochement, but then he just does this again. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Hey, Patrick, you know, here in Australia, we are now feeling the costs of global warming extremism, right? Because we're running out of electricity. At least in Britain, you know, we have here the Greens leader saying, we want civil disobedience if you open a coal mine. Well, in Britain, you've got civil disobedience going exactly the other way, a people's revolt against one global warming scheme, which is the ULEZ scheme in London, a tax on older petrol cars, $25 a day if you dare drive those cars on the streets of London. What's happening? Because I don't think our Greens leader thinks that this is the civil disobedience he quite had in mind.
No, indeed. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what's taking place at the moment. We have these new cameras that have been set up around Greater London. So London has now become the world's largest and most expensive green zone, and the people are not happy about it. So this group called the Blade Runners have started targeting these cameras, spray painting over them, or in some cases taking chainsaws to them and hacking them down. But they're actually exposing the ridiculous nature of where some of these cameras are. For example, one of the cameras is located right on the border, which is right near a cemetery. So you would now have to pay £12.50, about $25, I think it is, to go and visit your dead mum's grave if you wanted to, which is egregious to say the least. But they're also exposing, by the day, more hypocrisy and lies coming about the Green Air Zone. So Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, paid for research which showed that the clean air zone would make a difference to air. He didn't like the result of that because it showed that the difference would actually be minimal. He then got someone to peer review that scientific study, and it turned out the person who peer reviewed it was on the payroll of City Hall as well, on top of all of that. The impact of this, he said, would be absolutely minimal. The reality is that it's impacting the poorest in society and the working class, who traditionally vote Labour. He is a Labour London mayor, so he shot himself in the foot there as well. He also says that there's massive public support for this. He's rigged the polls because the opinion polls say things like, do you want cleaner air? Do you want fewer people to die of polluted air? To which everyone goes, well, yes. But then you say to them, can you afford a car? Or can you actually afford to do anything about this? And then they say no. So there's that as well. But you know what people are saying? We actually care more about law and order in the capital city. And over the weekend, there was the Notting Hill Carnival, which is supposed to be a celebration of Caribbean culture. Yet again, there were loads of arrests, 8 people getting stabbed, people wielding machetes. Where's the mayor when it comes to that stuff?
Yes, it's funny, isn't it? I don't recall machetes, arrests and capsicum spray at, an opera festival or a Shakespeare festival, but there you go.